Well, hello, Southeast Texas. This is Dayna Simmons, and we're so excited to have you joining us today. I have some great guests, and we're going to talk about lots of things with real estate and bugs. Okay, so if you're interested, stay tuned. We're going to have with us first Bart Foster. He's an entomologist with Bill Clark Bugsperts. We also have Farrell Greer, who is with First Financial Bank, and Jessica Welborn, who is a buyer's agent with Dayna Simmons Real Estate. So we're going to let you get to know them just a bit. So we're going to start with you, Bart. So Tell everyone a little bit about you.
Absolutely. First, I guess my hometown, I'm from Madisonville, Texas, which is up in the Huntsville College Station area. I graduated from Texas A&M with a degree in entomology and came down here.
Lots of people going whoop out there.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm an Aggie twice, did 2 degrees up there. Came down here working for Bill Clark Pest Control. I worked in Southeast Texas. I've been about 14 years in Southeast Texas, about 20 years in the pest control industry. Got 5 kids, so a handful at home, but a good bunch of kids, and just enjoy the job and enjoy the good people down here in the area.
Yeah, and Texas from the start, but you got here as quick as you could too.
Yes.
Yeah, Texas. Well, we're so glad to have you here. We're going to talk a little bit about termites and the things that happen with those, and any other question that you might have about bugs at your home. You're welcome to give us a call here at 896-5584, and we can get Bart to answer those questions. We also have Farrell Greer here. She is with First Financial Bank. And Farrell, I'm going to let you tell them specifically what it is that you do at First Financial.
Yeah, so I'm a consumer lender, so I do all of your personal loan needs, such as autos, boats, ATVs, that kind of thing. And then I also do all of our in-house mortgage products, so home equity, home improvement, purchase with improvements that we're going to talk about. We have an I-10 program, an affordable home mortgage, so just anything you don't sell off on the secondary market.
Yeah, so anything that's outside of FHA, regular conventional, VA, you do those. You do things outside of that.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, tell us a little bit about you.
I'm born and raised in Deweyville, Texas. I've worked for the bank for almost 10 years now. So I've done everything from a teller to a personal banker, lending assistant, now a lender. So really enjoyed work there when we were Orange Savings Bank and now First Financial. So.
Yeah. Well, we're so glad you're here, and we were just talking about all the connections with fire departments and your family's connection, and Jessica and Jim Love, and we have a lot of firefighter families around here, so we're glad to have you. So Jessica Welborn, she is a buyer's agent with Dayna Simmons Real Estate. Tell everyone a little bit about you, Jessica.
Well, I live in Vidor now, born and raised there. Took a little break from Vidor. I lived in Port Neches for about 5 years, and then my family and I moved to Mississippi, to Laurel, Mississippi for about 5 years. My husband was in ministry, and so that took us around to a few different places, but then we moved back here and love being back in Southeast Texas. Have a husband, James, of almost 25 years, and then 4 kiddos, a son-in-law, and 2 grandbabies.
Yeah, which are like... Oh, so darling. We in the office share our grandmother stories. She has the 2 boys. I have the 2 girls. And so if you come in and we're just kind of oohing and on, you might know why.
Right.
So, well, in our next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about buying property. And one of the things that you may have seen on our Facebook this past week was talking about the 3 rules of real estate. Jessica, what are those?
Location, location, location.
Yes. So we all know that location is a critical part of the real estate transaction. But there are times when it's like, man, it's so difficult to get that house in the location that you want. So we're going to talk about options to where maybe you can buy something that's not in the perfect condition. It allows you to do a purchase plus improvement. So in one of our future segments, we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you're going to want to stay tuned if that's something that you're interested in. Another thing I wanted to just kind of touch on, and we'll have Farrell continue on that topic of conversation, is, wow, did you see what rates did yesterday? We saw last week a huge shift in our mortgage interest rates, and we saw the Fed raise rates. And last week we saw a peak and it was a little unnerving, although in Southeast Texas, we were still feeling pretty confident about our market because of all that we have coming to Southeast Texas. But it still is challenging for our buyers who may have had to bump down from a price range because the interest rate increased the cost. So what I want you to know is that yesterday we saw that come back down. So if you're on the fence and you're saying, oh, I don't know because of what happened last week, I want you to know that we have seen that the housing mortgage rates are normalizing back to where they were before we saw the big spike. So if you're out there and you don't know that information and you want to speak to a mortgage lender, First Financial Bank is one of the banks you can reach out to, but you can also reach out to whomever you're working with to get that information that you need. First Financial does have an app, and we'll get Farrell to talk about that and talk about how you can go online and make application for that. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to get into, so when you buy a house, what is it that you need to do? What are the first steps? And then we're going to get into a house purchase plus improvement loan as well. So don't go away. Come back. This is Dayna Simmons with the Dayna Simmons Show.
Or 800-33-UP.
Welcome back. This is Dayna Simmons, and I am joined here today with Farrell Greer with First Financial Bank, Jessica Welborn, who is a buyer's agent on Dayna Simmons' team, real estate, And I have Bart Foster, an entomologist with Bill Clark Bugsperts. Well, we're going to talk in a little while about purchasing a home plus an improvement. But before we do that, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but wow, it seems like the termites have been really bad this year, Bart. Have they been more than normal, or is it just because it's happening more to me?
Probably a little the second part. We always have a lot of termite activity in the spring. This when we have our swarming season is where the winged termites come out of the colonies that are in the ground, and so they become very visible.
Yeah, and that happens like typically around Mother's Day. Is that about right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
We have two species. We have one species that swarms a little bit earlier, but the Formosan termites, which are the ones that have the massive swarms after dark, that's almost always about Mother's Day every year.
Yeah, it's really funny because in one weekend, I had 2 tenants call me and say, hey, there are these bugs that I've never seen before. One of my tenants is from out of the country, and they had no idea what was happening. And so that happened all at the same time. And then Jessica, you had the same thing, didn't you?
Yes, and also we have a network at my house because my daughter and my mom and I are all on a group text, and when one of us sees the termites swarming, we all text each other, the termites are swarming. We all go and turn off our lights and shut the doors and try to, hide from them.
Yeah, and then you ended up getting them this year anyway.
Yeah, this year we ran into some termite activity and had to call and get termite treatment at our house.
Yeah. So Bart, is that really helpful? You know how she said they text, and I have always heard, turn the lights off. So is that something that's a helpful tip, or is it not really?
It's probably going to keep less of them from crawling into your home, but as far as really preventing termites from infesting the home, probably not going to be make that big a difference.
Right.
What they're trying to do, they're trying to get back to the soil and start a colony, and that's where the issue would come, and that would take time. The ones that actually get in the house, most of them dry out and don't make it, but it definitely makes sense to just have less bugs crawling inside the house from the swarm.
So if they're just flying into the house that from the swarm, it doesn't mean that you have damage.
It doesn't. It's kind of the middle of the ground. You need to pay attention to it, but not panic.
Right.
We've got a huge amount of termite pressure down here, and if they swarm anywhere on the block, they're probably going to fly to everybody's porch light. So just seeing some at your house does not necessarily mean they came from your house. But what it does show you is how many termites are in the area. So
right.
I've heard almost the other extreme last year. A lot of people are like, oh, you don't have to worry about that kind. I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yes, you do need to worry about it. Maybe not the ones with wings, but you need to be concerned about the colony where they came from. So,
right. Yeah, and that is why, when a buyer is purchasing a house, that's one of the things that we do recommend is a WDI report. Now, with a VA loan, it's required, but as a team, Jessica will say we always recommend that you get that inspection, because what happens when they finally do start to build those little colonies?
Yeah, I mean, you just want to have an idea of what was going on with the house. That's where somebody that's got kind of a trained eye for it and experience. And not only the report's not only looking for termite activity, it's looking for other wood-destroying insect activity and conducive conditions for future activity.
And speaking of other wood-destroying insects, I mean, that it's not just termites. So talk about what are some of those other things that they look at?
You, of course, have carpet ants, carpenter bees, and there are some wood-boring beetles that can get into houses. So all those things would be part of that report.
Yeah, and if that is the case, then what are the next steps? How do you get rid of those?
Yeah, so let's kind of go back to the termites because it'll be different depending on the insect.
Okay.
With termites, there's 2 main ways to treat. There's a soil treatment using a liquid termiticide. Essentially do a shallow trench around the house, put the termiticide in that trench, and as the termites forage and get up close to the structure, they get in that material. Now, they don't know they move through it, and so as they go back and interact as a colony, it causes the collapse of the colony. There is also a baiting system, and the idea there is the termites forage and find that bait, and they go back and share that food. And that also, they both work very, very well. There's some advantages in the bait. If you're like right against a lake or areas like that, you can use it where you can't use the liquid. But both are very proven and effective methods.
Okay, and so for the majority of people here in Southeast Texas, we would do the trenching. Is that what I'm hearing, except for if you're near a lake?
You can do either or. The baiting system works fine. If you've got active termites, one advantage of the liquid is you get immediate control, where the bait, it won't start working until they find it, and it might just take a week or two, but it might take longer. And the concern would be if they continue to feed on the home will cause some damage in that time period. You can even do a combination of the two, do a bait system, but a spot treatment where you're seeing active termites to take care of an immediate problem.
Right, and so tell us, if someone does have termites and they don't take care of that, what is some of the damage that can occur?
We have some cases I know we've run into at work. Two I can think of. One, we had some people with $20,000 worth of damage.
Wow.
And another one was up about $90,000 worth of damage.
So that's like getting into the beams, the studs and.
Yeah, the complexity sometimes comes because you've got a house that's already built and you're trying to replace existing pieces, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So you may be having to jack up and support a porch to replace pillars. And so the complication of that repair, it's not just the materials, it's the ability to actually take a piece out of an existing house and replace that without causing any other issues.
Right. So what is it that you recommend that a homeowner do to stay on top of that?
So some things, if you like fleas, for example, I wouldn't recommend treating for fleas until you see fleas. Termites, you need to do it completely different. You need to be proactive. It just makes sense in this area. Go ahead and treat your home. Have it protected, whether then when you see the swarmers, I have the same experience in my house. I just see the swarmers. I'm like, well, okay, I've treated my house. I've done everything I can do. So you want to be proactive is the key with termites. Don't wait until you have a problem. Go ahead and treat and stop the issue because the termites are here. We've just got to protect the home.
So we have a home buyer and they're buying a house and they close on that home and they say, yes, I want to have it treated. Is that a one-time event or what happens after that?
Okay, with a baiting system, it's checked every year, but as long as it's checked and maintained, it can go year after year. The liquid, different companies have different policies. We recommend retreatment about 10 years, and that's just based upon the science of how long the product lasts. You'll probably go a little beyond that, but that's the point where we start to have some doubt if the material's still good. So it's not something that you have to do annually with like a liquid treatment.
Right, but it does allow you to have it checked annually, though, if you do those things, right?
Right, with that, a lot of times we will recommend an annual inspection, and we'll come back and look for any activity, but that material, the liquid put in the ground, or the bait system is present all year round and working.
Yeah, that's such a great thing for anyone to do. But even if you, just like you said, even if you do that bait system or the trench system, and they're swarming and you see them at your house, you're still covered as long as you've done that recently. Is there something you should do if you see them swarming after you've done that?
Well, I think, like Jessica said, turn off the lights to prevent some from crawling in, but even the ones that crawl in the house are not very likely to infest the house. They've got to get down to moisture in the soil, and they're not going to find that inside the structure, a good environment. But so it's more, the liquid trenching or the bait system to prevent infestation.
Yeah. Well, that's great information, Bart. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about that buying process and what we need to do and how that is a part of the process and what you want to do. So don't go away. Come right back. This is the Dayna Simmons Show. Welcome back. This is Dayna Simmons, and I am joined here today by Bart Foster, an entomologist with Bill Clark Bugsperts, and he's been giving us all kinds of great information about termites and what we need to look for and what we need to do. And if you have any questions that you want to ask him, please give us a call. He has a wealth of knowledge about all kinds of bugs. It makes me wonder, do your kids like bugs?
They are probably better than average kid at identifying stuff, so they picked a little bit up from Dad.
I bet they do. I bet they do. When they go to school, I mean, people point out the bugs. I bet they're going, well, you know, this is, and the kids are like, wow, I didn't know that. We also have Farrell Greer, who is a mortgage originator with First Financial Bank, personal banker as well. So we're going to talk about all that she can do for you. And then we have Jessica Welborn, who is a buyer's agent for Dayna Simmons Real Estate. Okay, so Jessica, we have been talking this past week about when you're buying a house. Mm-hmm. What is it that most people are looking for? Well, a lot of times it's location, location, location is what drives our market. And there are many things that are deciding factors on the location that they really like. So let's talk about what are some of the things that our buyers are asking for when they're wanting a certain location.
It is very specific to each buyer, but there are some kind of general qualities too. People, of course, families are always concerned with school districts. We also have people who, some people who really like rural areas. They like space, they like some land, and then others who love an HOA and a subdivision with, curbs and privacy fences and all of that. So
so exactly what you're saying. Location isn't always one specific rule as far as what they want. Now, so when you're looking for your location, the location that you want, the certain neighborhood, or you want that house on an acre worth of land out in a rural area within 20 minutes of Beaumont, which is a big one for a lot of us. We see that one a lot where people say, that's what I want. Mm-hmm. It can be challenging, especially right now in our market that we're in right now, where we have, we've seen some improvement. Month before last, we were at less than 2 months of inventory, and now we're at 2 months of inventory. So we've seen an increase in the number of listings that are on the market, which is really good. It's helpful. But we're still in a seller's market. Mm-hmm.
Still
an
really
average,
competitive.
Very competitive, because the average number of days on market, the average number of months is 5 to 6 for it to be an even market. If we had 5 to 6 months of inventory, that's kind of an even market. So anything less than that is still a seller's market. So while some people are saying, since last week had a spike in the interest rate, it's going to be harder to sell your house. No.
There's still more people looking than there are houses.
That's exactly right. We are still in a situation where it is a great time to sell. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking to buy with the recent news of the interest rate going back to where it was is so helpful. So let's talk about when that buyer has their pre-approval. They've already talked to someone and they have it in hand. They go out and they're looking for that specific location. Sometimes they're very specific about what they want and it's not out there. Mm-hmm. So talk about what are some of the things we have to think about.
Well, you do have to think out of the box. When you consider location, clearly that's not something that you can change about a house.
Right.
So where you have to compromise is not location. If location is the unchangeable factor. So
your priority.
Yeah. Right. Then the other things is that you consider or where you kind of can move your boxes around a little bit. I would say, when you're looking at numbers of bedrooms and bathrooms, that's kind of a big factor too, along with location. More expensive things to change, but the easy things to change would be the cosmetic things, the things where you can paint and change flooring and add a fence. If a fence is really important, that's totally something that can be done.
That's adaptable, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and even with bedrooms, my niece a couple of years ago was looking at for houses, and she was looking for that unicorn in Port Neches. You
Mhm.
know, she wanted only Port Neches.
Mhm.
That's hard.
Mhm.
You know, the market in Port Neches is very tight. And so she needed a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
Mhm.
And we were just struggling to find something. So I expanded my search to 2 bedrooms.
Mhm.
And then if it was a 2-bedroom and it had an extra room,
Mhm.
that formal dining or a formal living. You know, in Port Neches, you have a lot of those older homes.
Right. They have the formals.
They
Yeah.
do, and so many
Mhm.
people don't use those anymore. So
Mhm.
that's one of those things with a few little adjustments,
Mhm.
you can change that into a 3-bedroom, which
Right.
not only benefits the buyer,
It's
but
great for resale.
it is excellent for resale. And sometimes people are like, but I can't afford to do that and then do a home improvement loan. So
Mhm.
Farrell, that's where you come in. So Farrell Greer with First Financial Bank, talk to us about what are the ways that you can do that.
So you can do a purchase with improvements loan. Basically, you get a bid from your contractor for whatever kind of improvements you're going to want to do. And your contractor doesn't have to be, an actual contractor. Somebody that you know can act as your contractor. They just can't be associated with the property. So it can't be your spouse or, somebody that's going to be on the loan. But like if your dad or father-in-law or somebody like that wanted to be your contractor, they could do that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I thought it had to be a licensed contractor.
It's a little different than the strict construction loan rules and
Right.
everything. So, before you'll have to have like a bid sheet, and we normally require pictures and everything before you'll do more draws to make sure that you're doing the work that we're giving you the money for, But, so you can do it we've had people add pools to their house. I had somebody recently that bought a house that had been abandoned for about a year. So it needed some improvements and, needed updating and things like that. So they added a pool in the back with their improvements and redid the whole house.
So let's talk about how that works. So Jessica has a buyer. Her buyer wants to buy this property, and this property needs completely to be redone on the inside. And the list price for the house is $150,000. What is their next step in connecting with you and getting an amount that they can purchase or add on? Because I'm sure you can't add on more than
Right.
what the value of the house is going to eventually be. So how does that process work?
So you bring the bid in, and then when we order the appraisal, we order an as-is, as-improved value. So that appraisal is going to tell us the amount that we can lend on the improvements that you're going to do. And sometimes it doesn't appraise for what you're wanting to do because, as y'all know, some things that you add on to a house, you don't get dollar for dollar value for it.
Right.
So there are times that they have to change their bid. They have to change some of the things that they want to do. But once we get that appraisal in, that's when you really know if they can do everything that was on their bid.
So do you close on that loan with the seller ahead of closing on the purchase and improvement loan, or how does that work?
It's all a one-time close. Basically, your first draw on the loan is to purchase the property. So then the seller is finished. They're not, involved in the process anymore. And then it kind of basically is like a construction loan at that point. So
Okay.
you do your draws as you need them.
Okay, so I find this house, I want to buy it. I do an offer on it based on the price of the house, not my improvements.
Right.
I put that house under contract, and then I get bids, and then I present those bids to you. And when the appraisal comes in, you're going to need it to appraise for the price of the house plus the improvement, right?
Mhm.
Then, as soon as that's completed, I'm going to close on the property. The seller goes away, I move in, I'm now the homeowner, and I start making my improvements.
Yes, sir.
Tell me the process from that until the final close.
That it's all one close
It's all
at one
done
time.
right then.
Yes, it's
So-
all done in the beginning.
So the money that you get, that you're giving them, you don't have to prove that after the fact.
So you close on the purchase, that amount is what's drawn first, and then you normally have a bid, like a list of these are the improvements we're going to do. Like for a pool, it's normally like 5 different draws.
Right.
So as they're ready to start the pool, you would do the first draw.
Right.
And you send us pictures afterwards showing, okay, they've dug the pool. And then we'll let you do the next draw. So it's
Right.
just like a construction loan in that aspect, but you're not having to follow all the here's my what I want to do for the draw this time. We already kind of know what you're going to want to do. And sometimes it changes as you know, you can rip things out if you're redoing a house and then, oh, well, we want to do the doors instead of the windows next. So, I mean, we can accommodate for that.
And adjust.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that helps me to understand. So it isn't them getting all of the money at the
No.
initial closing. It's a draw,
Yes.
and then additional draws after that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And then what happens when everything's complete? You just take the final draw?
Yes. So normally, during whatever draw period that the contractor or you think it's going to take, you're only going to make interest payments during that time. So you're not making a full mortgage payment because that would sometimes people are having to add some additional money into it. So it would be hard for them. So after your draw period is over, whatever that agreed upon time, or if you finish and want to go ahead and start paying on your principal, you can. But at that point, it turns into a regular mortgage and it's for however long you wanted to do your term for.
Right. And so this is a great opportunity for those people who are wanting to purchase a house in a specific location. And it does require a little bit more work, but then what you get is what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times in our market right now, Jessica, we see the houses that are completely updated going extremely fast.
Mm-hmm.
With multiple offers over asking price.
Mm-hmm. And if you're someone who needs closing cost assistance or anything like that, sometimes it feels like you're not as competitive with the other offers, and
Right.
so then we start to kind of look at houses that have been on the market a little bit longer, and so she's definitely piquing my interest with that, knowing
Yeah.
that someone has that option.
Right, and so for a lot of buyers, this is going to give them the option to buy something that might be a little cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
and they're thinking, but I don't have the money long term to invest after I have my mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to wrap that all. And the benefit to that is you also get the lower interest rate because it's wrapped into like a mortgage rate instead of a personal loan rate. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And you could always, after you finish the improvements, refinance on the secondary market if you wanted for a longer term.
Gotcha.
Because we don't really offer fixed rates for long terms in house. So you're not going to get a 30-year fixed with my product. So after you finish the improvements, it then could be financed on the secondary market, whereas in the beginning it can't be.
That's a great point. Yeah, so that in-house product gets you through the construction and the remodel and what you want to do. And then after that, if you choose to refinance, you can. I just had we had a client in our office that just did this with a pool and with an outdoor kitchen. They bought a brand new construction home because what they wanted, they couldn't find with a pool. So they, in the location that they wanted, on the larger lot that they wanted, it wasn't out there. And so they found a new construction home that was on a very large lot. And they did one of these purchase price improvements, and they added the back door outdoor kitchen, the backyard kitchen, and they added a pool, and they love it. The builder, they closed with the builder immediately after, and then did the rest of it, worked that out with a pool contractor, and it was very beneficial, very easy, and they were thrilled to be able to do that. So this does give our buyers options, which, Jessica, right now, that's what we're looking at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we are doing anything we can to try to help buyers, and that's one of the things at Dayna Simmons Real Estate that we want to make sure we're doing is in this fast-paced market, we want to help our buyers have options to be able to purchase a home with the interest rates still being really good. I mean, they are really good. And so if that's something that you're wanting to do, I hope you'll call our office at 409-866-8326, which is 409-866 and the word TEAM, TEAM. We have someone who is available. We have an agent on call 8 to 8, Monday through Saturday, 1 to 8 on Sunday. So if there's something that you have a question about or you want information on, we have a licensed real estate agent always ready to take your call. And that licensed real estate agent is called an ISA, an inside service agent. They're just wanting to help you. They're not going to sell you anything. They're just there to give you information. So if you need that information, don't hesitate to call us. If it's not the right time for you to buy or sell, we don't want you to buy or sell. We want to educate you to help you make the best decision for your family. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about some other options that Farrell offers in her bank. What are some of the other things that can help you so you're not going to want to leave? Stay tuned. This is the Dayna Simmons Show. Welcome back. This is Dayna Simmons, and I have some great guests today. We have been talking with Farrell Greer from First Financial Bank about purchase plus improvement loans. And Farrell, you do other loans as well. So tell everyone a little bit about some of the other things that you do.
I do home equities, home improvements. I do a home equity line of credit that is very popular right now. Basically, you have a line of credit with your home as the collateral, so you can do 80% of the appraised value of your home, and then you can use that as you want to, just like a normal line of credit, similar to a credit card, but with your house as collateral. We also have two fairly new products for our bank. It's an I-10 product, which is basically a customer that doesn't have a social security number and they have a hard time getting qualified, and normally they have to go the owner financing route, which they get stuck with a very high interest rate. So we now have an I-10 program. We have a few different options on that. We can also do home equities for them in that program. We do have a 30-year fixed, a 15-year fixed. We have some adjusting rates. So a few different products on that. And then we also just introduced an affordable mortgage home product. It's for median household income of 80,000 or less, which they have a hard time finding financing on homes sometimes. So on both of those products, we have a little creative financing for that to get those borrowers qualified.
I really love that about First Financial, always looking to see how they can help the client, the customer. And not just those with lots of money, although
Right.
they love helping people with lots of money. They're also looking at ways to help people with maybe a lower income get into a home, which we know home ownership just creates a different feeling, a different just being a part of the community. Having your own home allows you to do a lot of other things that you may not be able to. It is a way to build wealth. If you're renting from someone else, you're building wealth for that person. Why not be building wealth for yourself? And I love that I-10 program and that affordable housing program reaches people who in the past have not been able to qualify for a loan in any other way. So Farrell, if we have someone out there listening who wants to participate in either of those programs, how would they get in touch with you or the bank in order to do that?
We have a lender at pretty much all of our locations that can help with that program. I specifically work in the Port Arthur location, but can meet you at any location. We have a lender in Beaumont, Vidor, and Orange as well. So, I mean, pretty much any of our locations you can come. And if we're not there, they'll get you in contact with somebody. But my personal cell phone number is 409-474-2453. And I have it on me at all times. So anybody can reach out.
So Farrell, also, if they wanted to just go online and apply, is that an option?
So it is on our side. It's actually easier if we send you a link to apply, but you can go on our website and request for a lender to call you back.
Okay.
So there is that option. And our website is www.ffin.com, like First Financial.
Right, and so there are locations all over Southeast Texas.
Yes.
While First Financial is a large Texas bank, in Southeast Texas there are many locations, and they're actually building a brand new one in Lumberton.
Yes.
So wherever you are, you should be close to a First Financial and be able to pop in. That's the other thing I love. Pop in and talk to your banker.
Yes.
That's a novel idea. Something that you don't get in a lot of banks.
Yes.
So I love that. Thank you, Farrell, for doing that. Okay, Jessica. So people have been listening and they're like, I just didn't know if I could qualify or not. I really love to buy a home. What are some ways that they can reach out to you and maybe ask questions or get an appointment to meet with you for you to be able to do a buyer consultation, because you have a whole book that you go through with them, don't you?
I sure do, and sit down and get, talk through some expectations, talk through, just walking through step by step of our process, kind of give them a good idea of what to, even if they're not exactly ready, how to get ready and what to start doing in order to be ready to buy.
Yeah. So just educating them and giving them options and showing them different things that they can do. So how would they reach out to you, Jessica?
They can call our office at 409-866-8326 or call me on my cell phone. It's 409-351-5260.
Yeah, and you're happy to do that. And while Jessica said she's a mom and a grandma, let me just say she loves on her people just the same way. So she is very nurturing to all of her clients. Every time I call to get feedback from her clients, it's always, "Oh, we love Jessica." I'm like, yeah, I know, we do too. We do too. So, Bart, okay, let's talk about if someone is seeing little creepy crawly somethings around, what do they do?
So the best thing to do would be go ahead and call the office. It's 409-898-3224. The way that we like to do things is we'll send an inspector out, and there's no charge for that inspection. We'll look at what the problem is and give you a recommendation and proposal for what we can offer. So if you got a question, that's what to tell people. You're not out anything for having somebody come and look and tell you what your options are.
Yeah, and that's another thing. That's customer service. Bill Clark Bugsperts will come out and look at no cost. That's amazing. So you don't have to wonder, is this something that's a big deal or is it not a big deal? And we've been talking a lot about termites, but Bart, is there something that's a bigger issue here in Southeast Texas?
As far as financially, termites have probably got the most risk because of the cost, as we've discussed earlier. Of course, a lot of roach issues and issues are both two of the other really common pests that we have.
Yeah. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies thinking about it. So, something else that is an issue here, and I don't know if Bill Clark has anything for treating those, or if you have any recommendations. Mosquitoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mosquitoes, there are some options. It's basically a piece of equipment called a mist blower is used in the backyard. It looks like a leaf blower essentially, but it puts out a fine mist of insecticide. And what you want to do is treat the underside of the leaves in the backyard. Those are the areas where the mosquitoes rest.
Okay.
And in some situations, it works extremely good. If you've got nothing but grass in the backyard, obviously the options of where you can put material become limited. So that kind of goes back to the inspection. That's why we like to look, because just a description on the phone is not the same as seeing a property in person and knowing what you got.
Yeah, because if it looks like an ant that has wings, it can be a lot of things.
It can.
It
Yeah.
can be an ant with wings, or it might be a termite.
Yeah.
You just never know. I mean, I in my mind, a termite looks like an ant with wings. And
Yeah,
then
they're
there are
very
ants
similar.
with wings. So it's like, do I have termites or do I have ants? And how do I need to treat that?
In identifying stuff, of course, it's something that I do a lot. People bring stuff in. I kind of joke about it being trying to stump the entomologist, see what you can bring in. But the anxiety level, when you tell somebody it's a winged ant instead of winged termite, you can just see the relief almost
Oh,
in a lot of situations.
So do you do that with other things where they bring you things and go, hey, I've captured this. What is it?
I probably look at least a dozen things a week. And the interesting thing about our industry is you think you've seen it all and you never know. Once in a while something comes in, it's like I've never seen something like this before.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's an interesting part of the job.
Oh, yeah. And so what would you say is the most interesting thing you've ever seen here?
A really strange thing that I had brought in, and it's not really a pest issue, but there's a type of insect called an owl fly. The larvae just have spikes and spines all over them, and it took me a little while to figure it out, but that really was a unique thing that somebody brought in.
Yeah. I just can't imagine that would be something that you would do every day.
It's nice when they come in good shape. Sometimes we get them stuff stuck on squish and scotch tape and all kind of stuff. So sometimes the challenge is what piece of the bug is it?
Yeah, how do we figure out what this is? That's exactly right. And do your kids do that to you too? Do they bring you stuff and go, hey, Dad, what's this?
They do sometimes.
Yeah.
And they've gotten pretty good at some things. So
Yeah. They can name it before you have to, right?
I'm pretty proud of them
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well, I just want to thank all of you for joining us today. Bart Foster, entomologist with Bill Clark Bugsperts. Farrell Greer, she can be your personal banker over there at First Financial. She can do a lot of your loans for you, whether it's a boat, a car, or a purchase plus improvement on a home. So she does a lot of that in-house stuff. And then Jessica Welborn is with my company, Dayna Simmons Real Estate, and she's a buyer's agent on our team. I do want to let you guys know that I said at the top of the hour, and I want to repeat it again, that while last week we saw a pretty significant jump in rates, and I think everyone kind of had a little bit of a panic mode. One thing that I didn't notice yesterday on the news was the fact that rates went back down. You know, I know we often hear about the challenging issues. We don't always hear about the really good news. So I wanted to make sure that I said to you today, hey, if you're thinking about buying a house, the rates have gone back to where they are prior to the spike. Jessica, you were just telling us in the break about a client who had an issue with that. You want to briefly tell us that before we wrap up?
Sure, I'm not a banker, but I'll try to do my best.
Yeah.
They're buying a second home, and so there are certain things that interest rates are a little different with a second home, and because their interest rate was higher, they had to buy it down with points. And so there are certain things that there's only so much a buyer can contribute, I believe is how it is, toward their own loan. And so it became too expensive. Caused a lot of issues. And we were going to have to work things kind of strangely with their loan last week. They didn't get that house, but they fast forward a week and they locked it in, and none of that is applying anymore.
Right. So the price reduction in our rates has
Fixed it.
helped helped.
Very much.
It has definitely helped. So if you're thinking about buying, now's the time. If you're thinking about selling, it's still a great time.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that you'll reach out to us with any questions you may have. This is Dayna Simmons with the Dayna Simmons Show.